The cafeteria fell silent when Marcus Chen walked in, not because anyone feared him, though his name commanded billion-dollar boardrooms, but because nobody expected to see the CEO of TechVantage Solutions standing in line at the employee lunch counter, tray in hand like everyone else. Sarah Mitchell didn't notice him. She was too busy counting the crumpled bills in her wallet. Her 6-year-old daughter Emma tugging at her sleeve. $3.47. Enough for one meal, maybe two if she skipped the drink. The math was always the same, always cruel. She glanced at the cafeteria prices, mentally calculating which combination would fill Emma's stomach and leave something for dinner. "Mommy, I'm really hungry," Emma whispered, her voice small and tired. Sarah's heart clenched. "I know, baby. We're getting food right now." She ordered a small sandwich and apple slices for Emma, a cup of soup for herself. The cashier rang it up, $4.50. Sarah's face flushed as she counted out her bills again, hoping she'd somehow miscounted before. She hadn't. "I'm sorry, I thought I had enough," Sarah said quietly, her voice barely audible. Can you take off the soup?" "Mom, you need to eat too," Emma protested, her little face scrunched with worry that no 6-year-old should have to carry. Sarah blinked back tears, sliding the soup back across the counter. This was her life now. 3 months since her husband had walked out. 2 months since she'd started as a junior data analyst at TechVantage, working extra hours while Emma stayed at the cheapest after-school program she could find. Every day was a tightrope. Walk between making ends meet and keeping her daughter from seeing how badly they were struggling. "The sandwich is plenty, sweetheart," Sarah said, forcing brightness into her voice. She paid, balanced the tray carefully, and scanned the crowded cafeteria for a place to sit. Most tables were full with colleagues clustered in their familiar groups. She spotted one empty chair at a table in the corner where a man sat alone, absorbed in his tablet. Sarah approached hesitantly. "Excuse me, can I sit here?" The man looked up and Sarah's stomach dropped. Marcus Chen. She recognized him from the company newsletter and the portrait hanging in the lobby. The CEO, the man whose signature was on her paycheck, whose vision had built the company from nothing into a tech empire worth billions. Marcus studied her for a moment, then glanced at her tray, at her daughter's small meal and her own. Conspicuous absence of food. His expression shifted, something unreadable crossing his features. "Only if you eat too," he said firmly. Sarah's cheeks burned. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to—" "Sit," Marcus interrupted, pulling out the chair across from him. "Please." Confused but too exhausted to argue, Sarah helped Emma into a seat and sat down herself. She started unwrapping Emma's sandwich, breaking it into smaller pieces the way her daughter liked. Marcus was already on his phone. 30 seconds later, a cafeteria worker appeared with another tray, a full hot meal, with soup, salad, a sandwich, and a bottle of orange juice. "I didn't order," Sarah started. "I did," Marcus said. "Eat." Sarah stared at the food, then at him, her eyes filling with tears she was too proud to shed. "Mr. Chen, I can't accept this." "You can and you will," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Your daughter is watching, and she needs to see you take care of yourself, too." Emma looked between the adults, her small hand reaching for her mother's. "He's right." "Mommy, you always say we're a team." Something broke inside Sarah then, not in a bad way, but in the way a dam breaks after holding back too much pressure for too long. She nodded, unable to speak, and picked up the sandwich with trembling hands. They ate in silence for a few minutes. Marcus made idle conversation with Emma, asking about school and her favorite subjects. Emma, who was usually shy with strangers, lit up when he asked about her drawings. "I draw a lot," Emma said proudly. "Mommy says I'm really good. I made her a picture of our old house before we had to move." Sarah's hand froze halfway to her mouth. Marcus caught the hesitation. "You just joined TechVantage a couple months ago, right? Data Analysis Division?" "Yes," Sarah said quietly. "I'm very grateful for the opportunity." "Been working late most nights," Marcus observed. It wasn't a question. Sarah looked up, startled. "How did you—" "I see the security logs. I see a lot of things." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "What I don't see enough of is people taking care of themselves, or asking for help when they need it." "I'm managing," Sarah said automatically, the lie she'd told herself 1,000 times. "Are you?" Marcus's voice was gentle but direct. Because what I see is someone eating half a meal after a full day's work. Someone whose daughter knows they used to have a different house. Someone who's probably one emergency away from falling through the cracks. Sarah's vision blurred. She'd been so careful, so determined to handle everything alone, to prove she could do this. But sitting there with her daughter beside, her and this unexpected kindness from the last person. She'd expected it from the walls came down. My husband left, she said, the words rushing out. Cleaned out the bank account, disappeared. Emma and I have been staying in a studio apartment. I'm trying to save for something better. But with childcare and rent and everything else, she stopped, horrified at herself. I'm sorry. You didn't ask for my life story. No, but I'm glad you shared it, Marcus said. He was quiet for a moment, then continued. 12 years ago, I was sleeping in my car, building TechVantage from a laptop powered by coffee shop Wi-Fi. My daughter was Emma's age. Her mother, my wife, she believed in me when I had nothing but ideas and determination. Sarah stared at him. This wasn't the sanitized success story from the company website. She passed away 8 years ago, Marcus said softly. Cancer. And I learned something in those dark months afterward. Pride keeps us warm for about 5 minutes. Then it just keeps us isolated and struggling. He looked directly at Sarah. You're good at your job. Your supervisor says you're one of the fastest learners they've had. But talent doesn't mean much if you're running on empty. I don't know what to do, Sarah admitted, the words barely a whisper. Marcus pulled out his phone, typed something, then looked back at her. Starting Monday, you're being transferred to a new position. Still data analysis, but with a 20% salary increase. You've earned it based on your performance reviews. HR will also send you information about our emergency assistance program. No interest loans for employees in crisis, subsidized childcare, other resources. Mr. Chen, Marcus, he corrected. And this isn't charity. This is what companies should do for good employees. What humans should do for other humans. He smiled at Emma, who was finishing her apple slices. Besides, Emma here told me she wants to be an artist. TechVantage needs creative thinkers. I'm investing in the future. Emma giggled, and Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. Over the following weeks, things changed. The raise meant Sarah could move to a better apartment. The childcare subsidy meant Emma could join an after-school art program she loved. But more than the practical help, it was the shift in perspective that transformed Sarah's life. She started accepting help from colleagues, built friendships, found her footing. 6 months later, Sarah was thriving in her role. Even proposed an innovation that saved the company millions. Marcus promoted her to team leader. One day, she found him in that same cafeteria corner. Can I sit here? She asked, smiling. Marcus looked up and grinned. Only if you eat, too. This time, they both had full trays. Sarah sat down and they talked about projects, about Emma's latest artwork, about life. I never properly thanked you, Sarah said. For that day, for seeing me when I felt invisible. Marcus shook his head. You did all the hard work. I just opened a door you would have found eventually anyway. Maybe, Sarah allowed. But you reminded me that asking for help isn't weakness. It's wisdom. As they finished lunch, Sarah noticed a young man at the cashier, counting change with desperate eyes coming up short. Without hesitation, she stood up. Excuse me, she said to the cashier. I'll cover whatever he's missing. The young man looked up, grateful and embarrassed. Sarah met his eyes with understanding. We all need help sometimes, she said simply. Pass it forward when you can. Marcus watched from their table, a smile playing on his lips. Kindness, he thought, really was the most powerful force in the world. It cost nothing but transformed everything. One moment, one meal, one person seeing another's struggle and choosing to care. That's how the world changed. Not through grand gestures, but through small acts multiplied across countless encounters. And it all started with a simple question. Can I sit here? Sometimes the answer to that question changes everything.